So the T20 World Cup build-up is well and truly underway with the Indian team there, but finally we will get to know who the 15th member squad is. Vikrant is with us, he'll tell us who's the 15th member in the squad.
Right now you've got 17 in contention. So like you said, there are 15 chairs. You've got
who are the 17 now?
No, you've got Siraj, you've got Shami, and you've got Shardul as well.
Shardul cannot be replacement for Bumrah.
He is in the fray.
He's in the fray for taking Deepak Chahar's place.
Yes, but Deepak Chahar was himself a contender. What if tomorrow you decide to have 5 fast bowlers?
Then Siraj and Shami.
No, it could be Shardul. You never know. So to tell Shardul Thakur, Shardul, you're taking the flight to Melbourne, which is going to be a 15-hour flight, but you've got no chance.
No.
It'd be very disappointing.
You've got a chance. No, he had given up hope. Did you just see again? He was asked this question. He says, it's okay, I tried, whatever. Now he is looking at the 2023 World Cup. This is during the ODI series.
So it could be all destiny.
Suddenly, yes.
If people would remember, just before the 2011 World Cup, I think days before the World Cup, Praveen Kumar, who was a certainty, he was a member of the India's 11 World Cup team. He would have been in the playing 11. He got injured, and S. Sreesanth replaced him at the last minute, and Sreesanth became a world champion, a 2-time world champion. So that's all destiny. You never know. It could be Shardul Thakur along with the captain and the other players lifting the trophy in Melbourne on the 13th of November. You never know.
Since you are saying Deepak Chahar is ruled out, Shane, please give us a background of Deepak Chahar and his tryst with injuries.
I mean, 2022 has not been a kind year to him in that regard. So for Deepak Chahar. Okay. So in terms of injuries,
normally there's one player every year.
This year there's
who
been
goes
2.
Through the
this year there's been 2 actually, at least.
Okay.
If not 2, then 3 maybe, if we have to go there. But with Deepak Chahar,
maybe more.
Maybe more. With Deepak Chahar, there was 2022 beginning of the year against West Indies, ended up suffering an injury, and he ended up also getting he went to the NCA and then further aggravated his back, missed the IPL, came back, played a few matches, and then his back gave way again.
So he also got a surgery done in February or March.
Yes.
It's surprising, for a youngster.
And not that many miles on his body.
And he plays mostly one format.
Or 2 at best.
2 at best. So he's not playing in the test matches where you are required to bowl 20-25 overs in a day. And, since he got a surgery done, Nikhil, in February or March, missed the entire IPL. Very rare of an Indian player to have missed an IPL because of injury. He came back, played 1 game in Zimbabwe, I remember, and the second, and did well in that comeback game. This was in August, I think, 3rd week of August, and sat out the next day. So that in itself was thank you. It was an indication that day that maybe he is not feeling very comfortable with the rehabilitation or his recovery. And somehow I don't know if it's the players, or is it the system, or is it the selectors, or the team management. There's something seriously wrong somewhere. Either with your training techniques, because most of the injuries, Nikhil, that we see now do not happen on the field. I mean, if there's a player who has a fall, injures his shoulder, or twists his ankle, or like in Nikhil's case, twitches his back.
Slip disc of the back.
Yeah. So there's nothing that you can do while it happens while playing. But most of the injuries that we hear of, a particular player would have played today's game, and then before the next game, we would hear that, he got injured yesterday, so he's going to miss out on the next few games. So that is what surprises me. And I think it is time for all of us to ask the BCCI to speak to the team management or the NCA to find out what's happening.
Yep, absolutely, because it's suddenly out of nowhere cropped up.
No, this is happening quite often. Now, so many players getting injured regularly. And I think, as you're saying, Injury happening while playing is another thing. It's out of anyone's control if you're playing. Yes, you can look at why so many injuries are happening, whether they are, this whole weight training. A lot of people say this gymming, extra effort. Maybe you're doing a lot of wear and tear. But once you're past fit, how is it that now it's happening at an alarming consistency that people who come back go back before you know it, like 1 or 2 games, and then they are back? That means there is something wrong in your assessment system, something wrong in when you're assessing who's fit and who's coming back, because they go back again with that same problem very quickly. Are you rushing them in? And these are questions that the new BCCI regime will have to look at.
Shane, again, while Nikhil is trying to pinpoint the problem, offhand, would you know if the injuries were so regular before COVID, or has that been happening more often post-COVID?
No, actually, it's actually been a phenomenon of the last 2 or years.
Internationally, I'm not just talking about India.
No, I think it's been a phenomenon for the past 2 years. You're seeing more players pick up, serious knocks. I don't know, but I think that would have been worn off by now if it were a post-COVID problem.
No, not just COVID. I'll tell you why. I remember during COVID, and while we would do a lot of Instagram lives with the players, I did one with a sports medicine expert in England. And if you remember, there was no sports for a good 5-6 years, 5-6 months in the entire world. A few countries, opened before we did, and then in bigger cities, in places like Delhi, Bombay, there were players who did not train for, let's say, 3 months or 4 months altogether. And the first big assignment internationally was the IPL, which was happening in UAE. The extreme heat of UAE, the sand-based grounds in UAE. And I asked her, what could be your, what could be one factor that you think may happen? Would you be apprehensive about anything? She said, if the players have not trained at all in the last 4 months, and if they were to suddenly come back and play in the IPL, a high intensity tournament, maybe there could be injuries and relapses. So what I'm trying to say is, let's say Deepak Chahar of today. So there has to be a timeline. So how well has Deepak Chahar's fitness been once the COVID ended and the IPL 2020 began? Has there been a history? Has he been rushing back? And not just Deepak Chahar. Could be other players as well.
I don't think he's been rushing back. But yeah, there are players who are getting, it's becoming a thing. This year itself, we saw Jadeja pick up 2 major injuries. And previously, I don't ever recall him being that injury prone. He had, and then there's Washington Sundar, poor fellow is perpetually injured.
Or gets ill.
He's had what? In 2002 itself, he caught COVID in Jan. The same series against West Indies, which saw Deepak Chahar ruled out, he picked up a knock. IPL, he had a split webbing problem. Then he came back after 2-3 games, freak accident on the field, injured the same webbing, which was stitched.
Which was last year?
This year only, this year. So that happened. Then he went to play, I think he was playing in the English domestic circuit. He got a shoulder problem, and that ruled him out of the series against Zimbabwe. So he's also had his fair share.
Are your players not eating food with desi ghee?
Could be.
Not having enough milk?
Could be.
Very likely.
Even the real fit ones, KL Rahul also been out injured for a long time, and he's very supremely fit.
Yeah, he had what? Sports hernia, got COVID. Then it took him a while to get back into rhythm.
Yeah, a lot of them are getting. Jasprit Bumrah, I think the biggest blow in terms of injury.
I think India would need a good backup plan, a good plan in terms of sports medicine. And while there are trainers and the physios attached with the team, I think the root cause is in India, sports medicine is a very, very new subject.
Correct.
Young guys do not know the meaning of sports medicine. There are 14, 15, 16-year-olds who play cricket and their coaches send them to gyms while they do not know what exercises to do.
Yeah.
So because India is actually not a sports country where culturally, where you come back from office, you go for a jog, you go for a swim. We don't do that. While we play sport, we play it as a career. Not in terms of...
We reach home at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock.
Then you can wake up in the morning.
That's what we do.
Morning we have to do 82 chats. There's no time.
I barely get up, because the match day you I reach home at 2.
Yeah, you reach
sleep at 2:30.
Yeah.
And I'm like this.
With one eye open.
45.
So it's tough.
My biggest problem is in the morning
not
I have to
everyone
find
has
a
a
good
life
t-shirt
like-
to wear. You can't be so casual.
Yeah, you cannot start doing live in the t-shirt you've gone to sleep.
No, definitely not.
Plus, but we are an exception. Not everyone has a life like us.
We've got
They have-
blue collars.
Yeah.
We've got blue collars, not
White collared people that join us, they don't
Chandresh,
have issues.
Is he there?
Chandresh is not there. By the way, one other thing which is very interesting, I think the whole talk about who's going to replace, so now we know that 3 have gone in Siraj, or will be leaving tomorrow in Siraj and Shardul and Shami. Shami is being touted as the front runner who comes in there. But this whole talk we said, now what if last moment there'll be a surprise, Umran Malik. So Umran is completely out because yesterday
He's
he was
playing in the
Syed
Syed
Mushtaq. He was playing Syed Mushtaq because I read somewhere that he had visa issues. He was going to go as a net bowler. But now I think they have not asked for any more backups in terms of, Shreyas Iyer and Ravi Bishnoi stayed there. Now I see no chance of Umran Malik taking the flight to Australia.
No chance. I think, again, Nikhil, the 14 plus these 3, you've got 17 on the bench all together in the locker room.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, in all likelihood, Shiraz and Shardul will be the ones to miss out on being in the 15 to begin the tournament with. So by 15th of October, you'll have your 15. Maybe Shami comes in place of Bumrah, and then you start the tournament.
Yeah.
Maybe, and I dare say that I hope it doesn't happen. If there are further injuries, then you've got Shami, Siraj, and Shardul as backups. So the team feels that the more people that you have in Australia, it'll be difficult for the entire contingent, the physios, the masseurs, and like you said the other day, to manage players. Dr. Nitin Patel is also being sent to Australia, and I don't know if that's just for Mohammad Shami, or is that for Hardik Pandya also? Is that for
Hardik,
Bhuvneshwar
what
also?
has happened to Hardik?
Is that for Arshdeep also?
What has happened to Hardik? You have,
No, you've
I don't
had him in
know.
the cotton wool for...
yeah, but I hope there is nothing.
No, but precautionary. Because apparently Dr. Nitin Patel is the one who's been treating everybody.
Yeah. No, but I hope the precautionary also there's no niggle also, because niggles also scare me. If there's something, even if there's a minor niggle to Hardik Pandya,
Then that's it.
then after Jasprit Bumrah now one.
I think they've been trying to manage Hardik, and so far, so good. They've done that well, and he looks confident of lasting the tournament. But again, doesn't really speak well of the fitness issues that you have in the Indian cricket system.
Yeah.
There are other teams also who are suffering. I mean, look at Pakistan, Shaheen Shah Afridi, but he's recovered now.
Yes.
The others were ill, somebody had COVID, but no fitness issues. No fitness issues.
There's a very good question, by the way. Meet Soni is asking. Meet Soni, who usually trolls us, but today he's in a good mood, so he's asking a question. He's saying, why did BCCI not select Umesh in place of Shardul? Umesh Yadav is in form, he's been taking wickets. And it's a very interesting question because Umesh was brought in, if you remember, out of the cold and bowled a few overs and picked up wickets as well.
Well, he's never been their choice, to be very honest. And I think Umesh was picked up then, Nikhil, because Shami was down with COVID and Siraj wasn't available.
Yeah,
So
he
he was
Siraj.
in the UK playing county cricket. So they must have then thought of Umesh as a hit the deck bowler. And he actually, I like him a lot.
Yeah.
He's somebody.
He had a good
bowls-
IPL.
He had a good IPL, so did Mohammad Shami. And I
Yes.
think his question is why Shardul and why
Why not Umesh?
Not Umesh. So Umesh, Siraj and Shami would have been like for like. I think they needed one of the one for Bumrah, which means that only one of the 3, even if you include Umesh Yadav, would have been the hit the deck bowler. Shardul, I think, is a backup for Bhuvneshwar. He's a backup for Harshal Patel. He's an all-rounder.
Yeah, he brings the batting.
And he's a utility player.
Yeah.
But I think he'll be a backup for those two. Just like Deepak Chahar was a backup for those two.
Sai Krishna,
Different roles.
just to answer your question, no, Ravi Bishnoi is not going to Australia.
Him and
Shreyas Iyer also is not going to be on the
There was a super chat, let's take that. Oh, Bapre.
A lot many actually.
Like a top
Roy.
state secret. So, for what does that mean? FOW?
No, he's saying, sir,
He probably meant
for what reason is Mr. Shah,
Acha.
Jai Shah, retaining his post and Mr. Dhumal being promoted? Is that bad happens because of the president and all good by the secretary?
Okay. So he's saying because the president got criticized for not good performance. So he's saying all bad was done by
What is
president.
performance for an administrator?
Actually, that
is a valid
I was a
question.
bit surprised.
Is that performance evaluated on the basis of what your cricket team is doing?
Then what is the role of the coach then?
Yeah. So I think when you say performance of the BCCI, there are many other factors, and I think while it was Saurav Ganguly who went to court with his application to challenge the Lodha recommendations, and then the BCCI allowed the president and the secretary to have another term, but the Supreme Court here ruling doesn't say specifically that Saurav Ganguly and Jai Shah can have their
That was just everyone's assumption.
I think it's a private body, honestly.
Yeah. Next one, please.
And they've replaced the president, who was a former India captain, with another former great, Roger Binney.
To me, BCCI election related questions. Shrestha Yadav says Ganguly has been sacked. It ends a bad era. For crowd, it's mismanagement for VK captaincy. Acha, for crowd, it's
As in for general
mismanagement.
people, the masses.
For me, women's IPL lost to South Africa, England, New Zealand tour, Asia Cup, World 2020 blunders, and sources based news. So Shrestha Yadav has actually picked out all things where he feels BCCI let them down. So one he says,
But again, can't be. This is dichotomy. No, on the one side you say Saurav shouldn't have been punished, and then Shrestha says that Saurav is the one
should have been punished.
who's the root cause of. I don't think. I think the truth lies somewhere in between.
No, but what he's saying is that it ends an era, and that era was led by Saurav Ganguly. So, I mean,
because he was the president.
Correct.
At the same time, Jai Shah was the secretary.
Yes.
Arun Dhumal was the treasurer.
Correct.
Yeah.
Rajiv Shukla was the vice president. And then you had a joint secretary as well. And I think collectively, if you do well, it has to be a collective decision. If you don't do well, the responsibility is also collective.
So I think
You can't cherry pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
This man did well and this man did not do well.
Which
It's just that the board has to look at its own dimensions. They have to possibly also look at the voting system.
So I think that was a point made by Roy SP as well, that you cannot just look at one person responding to the other. But I think in this case, what Shrestha is pointing out, Shrestha Yadav is pointing out, that he's just taken one name, but what he remembers this era of BCCI is for few reasons, that women IPL did not happen in time, though they are starting it next year. Then he has listed a few cricketing performances, as in loss to South Africa, England and New Zealand tour, Asia Cup also, World Cup in 2021 were a few blunders that he thinks. And then the fact that a lot of news were just coming out source based rather than coming out in a more transparent manner.
That last thing is something that has been going on since.
No, but it's gotten progressively worse over the years. So I think that's what he's pointing out, and those are the areas where I think BCCI need to improve upon. I don't think it was all hunky-dory, but I think then they would need to look at a few things. We've criticized, by the way, previous regimes as well, whether it was N. Srinivasan, if they faltered, or whether it was Sharad Pawar or whoever else wasn't in charge. Okay, come back to a few questions if we can take. Okay. One more, yeah. Lots of interest for BCCI election, I see. Third question on that. Siddharth Sabrawal is saying, was everyone fair with Ganguly during his entire tenure at the BCCI? He was criticized for every fault of BCCI and the Indian team also. Please bring Vikrant, please bring Ganguly's side of the story. Siddharth wants to know.
I really do not know Ganguly's side of the story. I really would not know. And Nikhil,
Because he asked you in particular. That's why.
no, that's fair enough. And you know, I have in my career not been interested in BCCI politics a bit. Whosoever is elected as the president or the secretary, as a media man, I try to get the best out of them for my own organization, which could be news, which could be, if they ask us about ways of bettering the game of cricket or the way cricket is run, that's it. That's it. Am I right?
Yeah.
Our job is to look at cricket, the way it is played, the way it is run. I mean, they have to do that. And as far as Saurav Ganguly's side of the story, I am sure Dada would have wanted an extension. He would have also maybe thought that if he doesn't become the board president, the logical elevation for him could be the ICC chief's post. And as we speak, on the 12th of October, I doubt if the BCCI will send him to the ICC.
Yeah, I mean, that is now well understood and reported that I'm sure he must be at the moment let down, because I know for a fact that he wanted to continue for another term. So
And he is the only fall guy.
Yep.
So he would obviously feel bad about it.
But you know
That he's been made into a fall guy.
But you know, I tell you what, so if you look at it very objectively, then it also helped him, if you remember last time. See, again, BCCI politics is a lot with vote bank also, right?
Yeah.
Who's got how many votes you control. Last time he came on as a consensus candidate, he was not the front runner because it was agreed on by different parties who bring in the vote. And this time, maybe one of those parties weren't keen for him to continue,
Exactly.
and you had to make those compromises. So him becoming BCCI president was part of a compromise, and him being removed as BCCI president is also part of the compromise. That is how the cookie crumbles, fortunately, unfortunately,
Exactly.
in the BCCI. So, okay.
Kabhi khushi, kabhi gum.
Any more questions, Shivam?
No, this. No.
Okay, Roy SP says people need to know what is sacked and what is replaced. Won't be surprised if people blame Dada for 14 T20 World Cup 15. It's as if...
No, Roy has a point here.
Yeah.
And Roy, to be honest, to use words like sacked
Yeah.
or replaced for Saurav Ganguly, I think is an insult to the Indian cricket system that he was part of. And I think we should remember Saurav Ganguly not as
Shivam, next.
board president, but as somebody who allowed the Indian players to have the teeth. I think he was the captain of an Indian team which began its journey in 2002.
Yeah.
And then they've reached where they have. As board president, obviously, I think the first year was all taken by the COVID, and then they had the IPLs taken out
But
of
that
India.
was a good job done,
That was
by
a
the
good
way.
job done. I think
To have
the
two IPLs.
Virat controversy, maybe that is when people started taking sides.
Yes.
And Saurav, unfortunately, faced a lot of criticism. And again, I was not in that room, so I'm not witness. But the fact is, people who were in that room or in that meeting or who were first-hand witnesses do say that Saurav couldn't have been blamed for that controversy, for that mess. He was not to be blamed for that mess.
Aditya Mohanty says Shami is like Brook Lesnar
Brock.
of Indian cricket. Who is Brock?
Who's Brock
He's
Lesnar? He's a pro wrestler.
right?
He's a WWE wrestler, and
No
he's
idea.
there potentially on only a very part-time deal. So the big events come, they bring him because he's someone who has a lot of mainstream appeal. He was a UFC champion as well. So that's his wrestling.
That's French to me. I don't watch WWE,
Saran should have been here. He totally explained it.
WrestleMania, whatever. So, firstly, so since you guys know who the gentleman is comparing,
Yes.
is Shami like that?
I mean, if you look at it the way he's making the comparison, that what Brock does is he'll miss all the smaller events, the big ones he's always there for.
Oh,
But Shami is like
give
that.
me an example that I understand. Lin Dan in badminton used to do that.
Totally.
But I can't call Shami the Lin Dan because Lin
Dan
Dan
is an
would come
absolute
and he
goat.
would just win. So
Exactly.
he'd be absent throughout the year. He'll just enroll for the World Championship, come win it, and say bye bye. So, but that was too easy for him. I think he was so
He's that good. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think Shami is that. But yeah, he is playing a lot of main tournaments. But he's saying, reading about Dada's behavior, I feel Chappell had a point.
I don't see anything about Dada's behavior which I've read about which makes me feel like,
Yeah.
oh, Chappell's been vindicated. No,
I don't know.
I don't understand what that means.
Aditya, I did not get that. Next one, please.
Eesh, we have a lot of them.
Sharon Vinakota. Okay. Vikrant has a question for you. He says,
Yes.
why are we selectively blaming organizations? Why can't we think player is rushing to play for the franchise and country in process getting injured again?
Because the player will not play unless he gets cleared by the medical team. I think that's also which of these players really rush back to play for their franchise? None.
You never know.
Yeah, that's what I said. You never know about that.
You never know.
Now, in case of Deepak Chahar, you can't say that
Yeah, he
because he missed the
definitely
entire
did.
IPL. So it's not that he played.
Sundar also, I think, missed the IPL.
He missed portions of it.
Portions, yeah.
Not that
But he
bad
played.
much, yeah.
Yeah, and Shami got COVID, so that's not being
Same with
unfair.
KL. Also, KL also got injured right on the eve of a series, remember? South
Yeah,
Africa.
but so KR was injured before the IPL and then was injured after the IPL. Yeah.
The operative part, he was fit.
Yes. Okay. Next one, Shivam. Today you are.
Slow today.
जब हम पढ़ लेते हैं ना उसके बाद just go to the next one. Show me.
Zoom.
Show me the money. Oh my God, so many.
Oi, 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 oi.
Shubham says, I think T20 cricket killed ODI cricket. Having exactly 1 year for ODI World Cup after T20 kills the vibe. Efforts made to revive Test cricket. T20 has infinite leagues. What ODI is going through is terrible. Shubham, in the words of MS Dhoni, I would say nothing more to add because you've summed it up really well. I also find it a chore, a bit of a stretch to be watching ODI cricket, especially in the era of T20, and especially now that we've had T20s right before and after. You could make out with this series. Though some of those matches did play out like a T20 game with the way South Africa batted.
Oh, yeah.
But overall, yeah, I think I was just reading today, there were suggestions that make it a 40 over format or do something like
maybe
that.
split the innings.
Which is actually, I like the idea.
Yeah, so do I.
I think 40 overs a side will be what the ODI cricket needs, what the ODI cricket audience needs.
Yeah. You made a point about the World Cup, Shubham. I think what happens with the World Cup, because it's a tournament that crowns someone world champions, I think you still revive the interest because the tournament has a lot of context. It's the bilateral series that makes it even more painful to watch ODI cricket. I agree.
And also, I mean, now how seriously a lot of countries taking it. Look what South Africa did for their bilateral series. They pulled out of it against Australia because they're like, no, we need to focus on our T20 league.
Yep.
So even countries aren't.
And
taking
now
it
they're
that
paying a
seriously.
price for it because they lost the ODI series here and now
And they have-
racing against time.
Oh no, they have I think 7 matches, of which 3 are against England, 2 are against Netherlands, and 2 are against West Indies. Maybe those 4 are probably winnable ones, but England against this South Africa and ODIs, you'd expect
it'll
them to
be touch and go for them to be in top 8 to make it
very
through
much
that.
so.
Otherwise, they'll have to go through.
The qualifiers. Although to be fair, I don't think it would be that much of a chore for them to go through the qualifiers.
Yeah, but still.
The prestige here.
Yep. No, unless
And
you have the
imagine
World Cup.
South Africa going through the qualifiers to make it to the World Cup.
No, to be fair, West Indies have also done it. So
West Indies,
two-time world champs.
If South Africa are to be on the road to becoming the next West Indies,
then that's a bad thing
God
for world
save them.
cricket.
Yeah. Yep. Next one, please.
Why rewarding mediocrity? You struggle to stay even mediocre.
Yeah.
You go poor.
Utkarsh says, why can't we play 7 proper batsmen and have 5 bowlers, including Pandya? Even with 6 bowlers, we are getting hammered.
Well, to be fair, if we take 5 bowlers, then you'll really be even more hammered, because what happens then if with all 5 you don't have a 6th?
No, his point is, okay, let's have 5 bowlers, let them get hammered, have runs on the board. Since you have 7 batsmen, chase it down. But the only problem here is that at times, mostly, the 7th batsman that you play may only get 2 balls or 4 balls or none at all. But you will need a 6th bowler if one bowler
He's getting
goes
hammered.
for 30 runs in an over, how will you bowl him the next 3? So that's the problem.
I'm also not a big fan of just playing 5 bowlers.
No.
Every time India has done that, it's not really paid dividends.
Saurav
If you
Ganguly
saw-
did that in 2003 World Cup.
He didn't have too much
Because
option.
he had Sehwag, he had Yuvraj, he himself could bowl, and he had all-rounders.
So
Sachin
that's why I'm not
took-
counting
Sachin.
as 5 bowlers. They had many bowlers.
He had many
Yeah.
part-timers.
But I'm saying just
Even Dinesh
5
Mongia.
bowlers.
Nah, could roll his own.
Even Dinesh Mongia.
See, in the ODI series, you saw that India went back to that combination of getting 2 all-rounders. In Shahbaz and Washington Sundar came in precisely for the balance that they wanted. They were not happy with 5. And it happened that Shardul went for a few in one of the games. And so you had the 6 bowling option, you had to use it. So not a big fan of this option. I'd
Yeah, you
rather
need-
go in with 6 bowlers. Next one, Shiv.
There's a lot of them today. Oh.
Proper consistent bowler like Bumrah. Currently everyone is economical, not wicket taking.
So that is
Do
the
you need
reason, somebody
Bumrah is Shobit Mathur.
from amongst the two, Shami or Siraj, will be part of the team. They may go for runs, they'll pick wickets.
Yeah. So not economical. Anyway, by the way, Shobit, even Bhuvaneshwar is there to pick wickets only.
Considering he'll
And
mostly
he's done
bowl.
it. He's done it.
Wasim Akram has picked Bhuvaneshwar as the one to watch out for.
Yeah, yeah.
He said if Bhuvi can bowl the way that he can,
Yep.
India will be tough to beat.
Agreed. Absolutely. I hope, because it's just a question of this phase which wasn't great for him. Just before that he had found some form. So if he can be
Even
at
through
top
the
of his
IPL.
game, he is the one who can be a game changer. Yeah. Next one, Shivam. Yeah.
This is the
Just,
same one.
okay. I
Again-
think we're done.
Yeah. Oh well.
Oh no, Samir Singh from the US of A says it is interesting that Dada's exit from the Indian team was controversial and his exit from BCCI is also controversial. Man,
I think
he's bang on actually.
yes.
But that's the thing with Dada. Maybe he's that sort of a figure that people love him also a lot. And then because they love him so much, anything that happens to him, they take,
Love him,
personally.
hate him, can't ignore him.
Yeah. And
That's
so-
Dada for you.
Yeah, yeah. He has polarized
You
opinions
do
in the
feel
past.
sorry for him, to be very honest. Anybody would. Saurav has been the board president, and he's the only one who's not been retained.
Next wala chale jaya Krishna.
So he would feel bad. But again, that's the way it is.
Yeah. Oh, today he's not changed his name. What?
Rahul Rawat's
No, 2. What is that?
2 swords, 1 sheath. In 1 sheath.
2 swords.
Basically, it's another way of saying 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah. So he says Dada and VK, 2 very strong personalities, 2 alpha males, and so there were ego clashes. Then he says Dada is very close to Vicky, but who is not close? And I should say everyone is close. I love all.
So he's saying, but don't be oblivious to the fact that Virat was forced to leave captaincy. And do you know who sent $5 for this?
Rahul Rawat's darling.
Rahul Rawat's darling.
Yeah, he comes here. Today is very kind. Usually he's always pulling his leg. Today he is come up with
yesterday the one where leave.
No, I do agree
Rahul is Rahul.
with your concern that 2 egos clash.
You haven't seen his picture also.
I have seen the picture. I think this picture, I only clicked this picture.
with the
This is-
Rajasthan jersey.
Yeah,
That's outside.
yeah.
No, please answer. You were saying something.
No,
शिवम आगे चलते गया करो. हाँ.
you said alpha males, you're absolutely right. Egos did clash.
Yeah.
And I think Virat and Saurav would be the story of the tenure that Saurav had in these 3 years.
Yeah, yeah.
This was one of the biggest controversies of Saurav Ganguly's career, I would say. Toughest times. When he was dropped from the Indian team, he still had the sympathy of the people. When captaincy was taken away from him, he still had the sympathy of the people. I think what happened last year was very unfortunate, the way it went back and forth, and then people started blaming Saurav for Virat's captaincy. I don't know if it was valid, but the fact is Virat did himself concede T20 captaincy. it was logical that if you were going to replace a T20 captain, you also had to replace the one-day captain. And Virat, to my mind, did give up on Test captaincy on his own. Whether or not he was forced, whether or not he was feeling the pressure, I would not know.
Yeah. How many hours did we spend talking about it on Sports Today and Sports Tak when that happened? Hours and hours. Those videos will still be there.
They would. Yeah.
Yes. Shrestha Yadav is back again. He says, was strange for me, never met Saurav, but interviews, when he was a captain, he looked like a true leader. He surely was. I mean, we had the privilege of covering cricket at the time while he was the captain. So we saw that up close and personal. But instead of betterment, I saw mismanagement, like the issue that you just pointed out, Virat Kohli, captain and all of that. The last line.
So he says, is he out of favor by Jai? Well, I think it's the BCCI that decides, not one individual who would have decided.
Yep.
Let's say hypothetically, if I don't like Nikhil or Nikhil doesn't like me, but there are 16 other voters in the room who feel that Nikhil is right, then Nikhil will win that contest.
Yeah.
So I think at times it is also the setup within an organization that dictates the actions that you take.
Next one pe chale jao. Sure.
Viraj is saying that he'll still pick Shami.
I would still pick Shami. Viraj Salonke says just because of his experience, we are replacing us.
He wants him to get his
has to be
bowling
Shami.
rhythm back.
I believe he will get his rhythm.
It's a concern. You're right.
Yeah, considering he's
next pitch,
played aside for
They
so
have
long.
2 games, the 15th,
Warm-ups.
the 17th and the 19th ones, and
Yeah, but so they've gone with Nitin Patel there. So
Nitin is he's going to fly off.
So is he going to do another test or so before he
The
decides
test
whether
was
he should
to
be in
happen
the
today.
No, in Australia also.
I think he's just gone there to monitor them, or maybe not just these 3, not just for Shami. Like I said, I think it's a backup that the team wants in Australia for the other faster bowlers as well.
Yeah, I think he's a front runner. He'd be the guy who comes into the team. What's the name? Shita Prajna Das. Oof, that's a tongue twister. Why is it that ever since Virat Kohli stepped down from captaincy, the fitness standards of the team has come down so much? Go to the next
What
question.
the fielding standards have, which I think are linked with the fitness standards as well.
No, but
There were injuries then. There are injuries now.
What has that got to do with Virat
I
stepping
think
down?
what he's trying to suggest is that maybe the stress was more on fitness then than it is now. The team
I know what
has
he's
done
trying to
away
hint
with
at.
the
I know.
yo-yo tests. So I think the suggestion is that maybe
Because you've got
now-
Rohit as captain now.
So maybe half-fit players are also.
No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that suggestion. Are you trying to tell me like whoever is the captain, he or she'll be like, it's okay, let's
But the
carry on
catching
fit
standards have
player."
gone down.
Yeah.
Not
Sure.
gone down as in coinciding with the fact that the captain has changed.
Yeah.
But they've really gone down. Maybe while selecting the teams, the essence is on the batting and the bowling skill only.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think fielding, catching, fitness in itself is a big skill that you cannot ignore.
Chinmay Bilor is saying India's B team bowling looks better than A teams. I'd like to disagree with that. I'll tell you why. Because your B team was playing in different conditions and playing a different format. So please, I am telling you, if you had you're trying to tell me if a Harshal Patel or Bhuvneshwar Kumar were bowling here or a Mohammad Shami was bowling there, they wouldn't be successful against this. And you're trying to tell me if a Shardul Thakur who did very well, or Siraj who did very well, suddenly comes into the T20 setup, he will do very well they will all go for a run. Today, just look at the England-Australia match. Pat Cummins, Hazelwood, Mitchell Stark, all have gone for more than 10, 11 per over. They are good bowlers. But they're all going for that kind of thing because the format is unforgiving. If you've got a good flat good bounce, even bounce track, batsmen will make use of it. David Malan did today. He hammered all the Australian bowlers.
Correct.
So, I mean, again,
I think the
it'll be
way
unfair.
England made a comeback,
Amazing.
Yeah.
was very good.
Yep.
They lost early wickets. Moeen and
Malan.
Yep.
Okay, Akshay's just sent a WhatsApp message to me saying that his super chat's been missed.
Will you just check? Sorry, we got a lot of super chats today, and our producer Shivam has been overworked because of the number of super chats that came in. So it is possible that in all of that he may have missed a few. Shiva, isme main check karo. Check in the comment section, because some which are of slightly lower value don't come up like that. So you'll have to check in the comment, not like that. You'll have to check in the comment going up or whatever. So Venkatesh Iyer in cracking form in Shahid Mushtaq. That's true.
62 of 31,
Yeah.
and in the same match, 6 for 20 with the ball. Madness.
Yeah. No, if I were him, I would also come back with vengeance, because I'd feel
Hard done
a
by.
bit unfair, hard done by the team management, how they looked at me, gave me chances. Then I didn't get consistent chances, then told me, no, you got to be the finisher. So I started batting there in the middle order inside Mushtaq or in other domestic
IPL as
tournaments.
well.
And then you never gave me a long run there also, and then suddenly decided I'm nowhere part of this setup. So yeah, and if that has really fired him up, so that's great
Good on
for
him.
Indian cricket. Yeah.
India needs more rounders.
Yep. We have a couple of minutes left before we wind up. TRT says Park bowling lineup is far best.
I
among
like
other teams.
I like the look of their bowling lineup.
No
honestly.
doubt. We've said that they have a better bowling lineup compared to the Indian team, but they also have probably the weakest middle order. So if you get the two
If there is
openers
any.
out, if there is,
That's it. It's not even weak. It's non-existent.
yeah, if you get the two openers out, that is why Pakistan or Pakistani openers bat the way they do, because they know that let's not aim at 180, 200 like other
160,
teams.
70
Let's
at
go for
most.
50, 60, 65, because at least give ourselves a chance. Our bowling lineup might come into it. So Akash Bharda has a very interesting point. Says seeing England versus Australia, Yuzi will be the X factor, because you had Zampa bowl very well. Yuzi did very well in the warm-up game as well. Bigger grounds, he could be. Yep, you get that extra bounce as well.
Can flight it a little bit, maybe tempt the batsman to kind of, hit him,
Yep.
get catch outs.
Absolutely, that's a valid point. Okay, shall we wind up then? It's time for us. Sorry, we had to change our time today because we were caught up in a lot of other work. So not our usual 6 or 6:15 time. We came in at 7:15. But thank you so much still for a lot of you who joined us. We will have continuously videos coming your way on Sports Today. But Dugout, we will see you again tomorrow, same time. Till then, bye-bye, see you. And Siddharth is not there. So on his
Vanakkam.
behalf, Vanakkam.